Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 5 of the Premier League check-in. We are here with the great Matt SB once again. And Matt, we think possibly the most intriguing Premier League weekend so far coming back from the international break.
Yeah, you've taken the words out of my mouth there, Ben. It was a brilliant week. So many great storylines. In terms of goals, there's a fair few. There's only one game with more than 4 goals, but some of the 1-0 wins here and there, and some of the late equalisers in some of the draws, really, really interesting. And we're going to get into it, so I can't wait.
Yeah, so your card this week, Matt: Southampton 0, Manchester United 3 in the 12:30. It was Brighton 0, Ipswich 0, Palace 2, Leicester 2. Fulham 1, West Ham 1. Very draw heavy there. Liverpool 0, Nottingham Forest 1. Man City 2, Brentford 1. Villa 3, Everton 2. Bournemouth 0, Chelsea 1. And then today, as we're recording, this will come out on Monday, but Sunday games: Spurs 0, Arsenal 1 in the big North London derby. Wolves 1, Newcastle 2. We have percolated all of this information, and we will be hitting you with Matt's moment. What are you thinking then, fella? What stood out for you this round? What is going to be this week's Matt's moment?
How could it not be Liverpool 0, Nottingham Forest 1, Ben? What a result. There are so many honourable mentions. This was a really good Premier League weekend full of great storylines, which we will get into through the rest of the podcast. But Matt's moment this week has to be the story that we saw unfolding at Anfield. A massive result at both ends of the table, because coming into this, look, I've been getting battered by Forest fans after this, because coming into this, I thought it was a home banker, and that's no disrespect to Forest, by the way. Forest have been so good so far this season. 5 points. It really could have been more with a couple of the draws they've had at home. And coming away to Liverpool, who have been so good. 3 wins out of 3. Slot is having such a great impact there. They're playing good football. They've not conceded a goal yet. So you're thinking possibly damage limitations for Forest. And then I was following this game, 0-0 at half-time. You're thinking, okay, possibly Forest get something. And then they take the lead on 72 minutes. I was thinking, can they see out a 0-0 potentially? But they've gone and snatched all 3 points. And it really does show how far Nottingham Forest have come, because this, for me, is undoubtedly their best result since they've been back in the Premier League. They've had some really good results. You know, obviously they've beaten Liverpool at home in the first season. They beat Arsenal at home. I think they got a draw against Man City as well. But to go away to a team that we think could be in the title race, we can maybe come on to Liverpool a little bit later, where it's not a great result for them. But what a performance. I think every player needs a mention from this. The team's building really, really nice, and there's a really nice shape to it. You can say, if you're a Liverpool fan, if you're upset with Forest, they were defensive, there was a couple of challenges we didn't like, but that's what you've got to do. If you're from outside the top 6, you've got to go there. I wouldn't necessarily say they sat as a block as well, because I'm looking at some of the numbers here. Liverpool didn't even register 1 on the XG. They were 0.94.
I think those 2 centre-halves, Matt, were heading and kicking bricks. I think they were on something. They were incredible. Murillo and Milenkovic.
Yeah, absolutely. They were so good. And the fullbacks as well. Aina was really good. Sells had a good game. And like I say, they just kept themselves in it. But ultimately, they looked like they were carrying a threat. And the more it went on, the more they grew into it, the more they fancied their chances. And this is a statement win. You know, Forest for the last 2 seasons have got by. In the first season, it was about surviving. 16th place. They did it with Cooper, with all those new players. Last season, we'll put it down to the season of FFP, a points deduction once again. Let's just get over the line. This time round, we've spoken about that there's it's very unlikely that they're going to get a points deduction, if not any at all. I don't really see how it would happen with the outgoings that we've spoken about. So it's like the roads opened up. I know it's early on, but this is a great start. You know, we'd said before the first 3 fixtures were nice, but this is some statement result. What a win for Forest. And next up, Brighton away, and they're going there full of confidence.
Well, mate, I had it exactly the same as you. We said last week, you know, well done, Forest, but soft start, go on then. Away you go to Liverpool away, and we'll see if we're talking about it. And by God, going there. I hadn't realised, Matt, Brian Clough, that whole era in the league, they never won. They never won it. I know they beat them famously in the European Cup, but I think they did the damage at the City Ground in that one. So it's actually just a massively historic win. So what are you thinking then? Because they've now debunked the "it was an easy start" thing. The next thing will be all the people that say, "Oh, it's too early to tell." Ipswich have gone to Brighton, as we'll come on to, and got a point with a bit of a stiff defensive performance. And Forest have got a manager who can do exactly that, and frankly, better players than Ipswich. And then Fulham at home, and you could be looking at 6 games. Can they still be at 2 points per game after 6 games? And where can they take this?
Well, I think when we spoke about Forest after 2 games, I said to you, can you imagine if they get to 5 games with 10 points? Well, they've got to 4 games with 8 points. They could still get to 11 from 5, but we'll talk about where they are right now, which is in a really good position. The thing I wanted to look at here is Nuno, the job he did for Wolves. Can he transfer that over to Forest? Because obviously he took them up top of the Championship. They were brilliant. They spent a lot of money, but they were great. And then back-to-back 7th place finishes in the Premier League. And you're just thinking, I don't want to get too carried away just yet for Forest, but who knows? Who knows how long they can keep this good start up for? I mean, people will say, oh, it's been a favourable start. I'm looking at these next few games: Brighton away, Fulham at home, Chelsea away, Palace at home, Leicester away. I think they're going to get a few more points in those games. I think it does get difficult in December. I think that's a month where they get Arsenal and the Manchester clubs. But yeah, you're right. I mean, what a historic win, even though they had that great success with Brian Clough. And it was always a historic matchup, Liverpool versus Nottingham Forest. They were 2 giant clubs with great success in the 80s and the 70s. But you look at where they are now, what a win. It's the first time since 1969. I think I'm right in saying.
You're right, yeah.
What a win. I mean, you know, it comes down to each person's interpretation of this. If there are people that think, I still just want to see Forest get past that certain threshold, and then we can start looking forwards, because in the last 2 seasons they've been involved in relegation battles. But I think Forest fans are well within their rights to start looking up the table this season. It's really, really exciting. And like I say, it wasn't just the result, but the performance. Brilliant stuff from Forest.
Yeah, say no more, and we will keep our beady little eyes on Nottingham Forest. We'll clip that one out for Matt's channel as well. So get your takes in the comments, particularly what happens next. I'm intrigued now. Is Matt onto something in saying, well, if you're the best of the rest and you start beating those teams in the middle, you're 8th, 7th in the Premier League, aren't you? So let's see long-term what Forest can do. But very, very deservedly, Nottingham Forest are Matt's moment this week. And we're going to go to a very predictable Worldie of the Week. Not only is this a very predictable Worldie of the Week, Matt, but I think he's a 2-time winner as well. I think I had Jhon Duran against West Ham in the first week. That maybe wasn't the greatest week in the world for Worldies, but what a goal, because it wasn't just a foot like a traction engine, smash it at the goal as hard as you can. Some beautiful fade, and you've got to love a left footer as well, haven't you? Swinging back into the top corner. But there's some really quick passing against the decent press into the move. And it's the 5th goal in a 3-2. And you can talk a little bit about Everton, because you've been across Everton right from the start this season. But what a goal by Jhon Duran for Aston Villa for Worldie of the Week, Matt. We agree on this one. We're not doing one each this week. No,
we do agree. What a goal. Once again, there are some honourable mentions. And while we're still talking about Forest, I do want to highlight that Hudson-Odoi goal, which I didn't actually mention during that Forest segment, because that's a really good goal. We were spoilt for choice. But wow, it's a match winner. You've literally said it all. I mean, the fact that there was really nice build-up to it, the fact that they were 2-0 down as well. So to come back and get the winner, I think it's 15 minutes from the end. Yeah, what a player Duran is. And that strike, I mean, he's so far out. He has to put so much bend and power on the ball. And Pickford is a good shot stopper. And it had to go right in that corner for it to get past him. It's an unbelievable goal. And speaking of Villa, brilliant start. Next week, I'm excited to see how they do against Young Boys, because they're starting their Champions League campaign. Things are looking great there. Emery's doing fantastic. And at the same time, while we're talking of this game, Everton, we did highlight them after one game, and now 4 games in and no points. I'm sure we'll come on to the relegation picture a bit more in a minute. I think we're seeing better signs from Everton because they went 2-0 up. They played well in this game. They played well in the previous game, but on the wrong end of another 5-goal bloodbath.
How many times can that have happened, going 2-0 up and losing 2 games in a row? I genuinely don't. I hear you when you say that's good signs, getting 2-0 up, and they missed it. Like Calvert-Lewin smashed the bar, and he was clean through. I think it was 2-1 to be fair when he was clean through, and he's a great striker, Calvert-Lewin. But I don't know what that said. I mean, you and I covered the Championship, and we had Millwall at the start of the season, throwing away these leads, and we couldn't get our head kind of around it. But that doesn't look good at all. But let's hold fire on Everton, because they are very much going to become part of the next conversation we are about to have. And it's time for We Need to Talk About. And dare we use the term must-win weekend? Use whatever language you're comfortable with, because we've certainly got head-to-heads. That's an objective fact. And I think it is the biggest weekend in the relegation battle. Let me just set this up for you, Matt, for what's actually happened this round, because we're building up to next weekend. It's Leicester, Everton, and Southampton versus Ipswich. So we've got 2 of the promoted teams from last year, the lowest ranked 2 promoted teams from last year, going head to head. And we've got Leicester, the other promoted team, going against the team that are currently bottom of the table. First of all, have you got any cause for optimism here? Because there's yin and yang, there's good and bad for Leicester and Ipswich. The good news is they've both gone away and put points on the board this round. Ipswich have got a clean sheet as well, and maybe a breakout performance from Aro Muric in goal. Talk about Leicester first, though. Leicester were 2-0 up at Palace, and ended up succumbing to a 92nd minute penalty, which was a bit of a dopey one from Connor Cody as well. And you can see in his face, he knew it was as well when that went down. So on the one hand, you're really pleased to go away to a team like Palace and, get a draw away from home, bring them back for the home game. Can you beat them, take 4 points off them? You do that against enough teams, happy days. But you're 2-0 up and you concede that late penalty. Where are you on Leicester? Are you more positive with the point going into the big game against Everton, or are you still thinking about the bad news?
It's a bit of both, isn't it? I think we're quite fair on the channels, aren't we, Ben? And let's be honest, it's a point which is good in the Premier League, away from home as a newly promoted team. But as you say, 2-0 up. And it's also going to be a question of where are Palace going to be at the end of the season? Because if Palace don't get away from this and they're in there, it's even more of a disaster. But if you've dropped points to a team that finishes in the top 10, it's not so bad, if you see what I mean. Like I say, looking at these games on paper, Ipswich's draw at Brighton is really, really good considering how good Brighton have been so far this season. Palace have started slow, so it was an opportunity, and Leicester did pounce on that opportunity. I think there's definitely positives to take. It'll be, looked on as 2 points dropped, but Vardy's up and running because I think that's 2 goals for him now for the season. Mavadidi made it 2. I think the problem ultimately is they conceded literally a minute after they made it 2-0. And they never really established that 2-goal buffer. So it was back to 1. And then right at the end, Palace are pushing. Palace are not a bad team, but they've not started the season all too well. So I think time will be the best indicator on how to judge this result. If Leicester follow it up with something, in particular a win against Everton, then it wasn't so bad. But if they now lose the Everton game, then it's like, the Palace game was even worse than we thought. So I suppose time will tell.
Yeah, context is king on that. You're right. And you're totally right to say that Ipswich going to Brighton, given how Brighton have started, how Hertzler has started as the manager there. I'll be very honest about this. As an Ipswich fan, could have been away from Ipswich, kind of like the Liverpool and Man City games when in the first half could have been 2-3-0. But they hung in there. And what I am liking about Ipswich, Matt, is you and I saw a swashbuckling possession attacking team last year. They look, Ipswich, like they've learned to do the counter-attacking style, to do the sit back, use Delap and Hutchinson pace on the break. And, I don't want to go in two-footed on Southampton, but we're seeing other teams who are very sticking sturdy to what they did in the Championship, whereas Ipswich have kind of pivoted a little bit. Look, you would have taken a 0-0 draw and a clean sheet at Brighton before the game. So they did hang in there, but surely that's a positive for Ipswich, even though they're still on 0 wins.
Yeah, absolutely. The Premier League is so unforgiving, and it can be your first 5 or 6 games, which can ultimately relegate you if you didn't pick up enough points and then you improve, but it's too late, if you see what I mean. And that could be the case with Southampton. I don't want to write them off early because there is a big game coming at the weekend, but 2 points from 4, considering who those 4 games were against for Ipswich, it's a really decent start. And I know it sounds silly, really, doesn't it? Because you've got to be close to a point per game, and 2 points from 4 is obviously 0.5. But the context, as you say, is king here. And Manchester City and Liverpool, I thought you played relatively well. I don't necessarily thought you were going to win those games, but no. A decent draw against Fulham, a very good point now against Brighton. I think it is the best result so far this season, a really solid point, and I am just rubbing my hands together for the fixtures at the weekend. Wouldn't it just be so typical after such a good week this week? And
I know what you're about to say.
Intriguing fixtures coming that we get a load of 0-0s.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
We've got go on.
Well, let's just round it out with Southampton, Matt, because as much as people are a bit unkind to Russ Martin coming on in front of the camera saying, oh, this was good, that was good, the other was good, they were good for the first 30 minutes of this game. And they should have taken the lead. Free shot from 12 yards, missed a penalty. And then obviously they go under 3-0. And I mean, I'm having this as an Ipswich fan as well, Matt, where you're sitting and saying positive, positive, positive. And then all someone has to say is, yeah, you haven't won any games, mate. And it's a bit like that. But there were, and we said this in Ipswich Liverpool, didn't we? Where there were positives for 50 minutes and then Liverpool, frankly, could have won 4-0, couldn't they? So, what have you got to say about Southampton? And can you get anything from that first 25, 30 minutes? That face says no.
The thing is, Ben, every point in the Premier League is so precious if you've just come up. And I mean like every single point. So to take 2 points from 4 games for Ipswich and Leicester, they are moving. And I know Southampton are only 1 win away from overtaking them. But it just shows that Leicester and Ipswich have that little bit more steel, maybe that little bit more know-how at the moment to know what to do to get these points over the line. Because as you say, Southampton, they're not necessarily playing bad football, but good teams can go down from the Premier League because it is such a harsh league. I thought they played quite well as well. But yeah, maybe the penalty miss and knocks the confidence, and then you're 2-0 down before half time, and that was really going to be a mountain to climb. I think as well with the red card, I really didn't like that challenge from Stevens. I know he's not hurt Garnacho, but you don't go in like that and then they go and lose 3-0. They've got to get things sorted going into this weekend because it is a massive, massive game. Already this early on in the season, I would consider this a 6-pointer. Yeah, it's just difficult, isn't it? Like I say, it's too early to write Southampton off because at the moment there's so many teams that have not got moving, but it's not, the best sign so far. So it's not very encouraging right now.
So our bumper weekend next week then, Matt, you have Leicester playing at home to Everton. So Leicester are currently they're the top of the clutch of teams with 0 wins. And obviously Everton are at the bottom of it. You would suggest that Everton have better players and a massive Premier League tenure, but is that equaled out by the ridiculously fragile confidence they must have at the moment and Leicester's home advantage? And then Southampton versus Ipswich is so, so big. And you have already nailed it. This can't be a draw. That is absolutely no use to either team. Some unhelpful draw in here. It's a massive weekend. I hope you're wrong about double draws, but how do you see it playing out? And who do you think? I know you're going to do the predictions with Sophie early in the week coming up, so don't completely give the game away on that. But who do you think's most likely to be coming away maybe with that first win? And let's be frank, Matt, every one of these 4 teams has this fixture circled, and every one of these teams' fans are going to be saying, this is our easiest game so far, this is our best chance of win. And they're all going to be right as well.
Yeah, it's such a big weekend. Another thing I'm just going to mention before we talk about these 2 fixtures is that Wolves and Palace are still winless as well. And as much as you're concentrating on your own fixture, for now, you hope they don't get their first win, because if you're one of these newly promoted teams, you want as many teams involved in this relegation sandwich as possible to give yourself as big a chance as possible to get out of this. Because as painful as things have been for Everton so far, and as frustrating as it's been, and as bad it has been at points, you don't want it to be a shootout between yourselves and Everton, because they have that experience to get out of it. You want to suck the rest in. But looking at these fixtures, you have to beat the teams around you. You really, really do. The pressure is more so on the home teams, I would say. I mean, the pressure is on everyone here. But Leicester are at home to Everton. I agree. I don't see how a draw is good for either of them. And then the same for Southampton, Ipswich. Southampton, in terms of points, have the biggest need to get that first win. So too did Everton, but they are away from home. I really can't call it right now, Ben. I know I'll do predictions, but I've not got the best track record. So don't ask me. I would be very nervous if I was a supporter of any of these teams, Ben.
There you go. He's straight betted that one away, hasn't he? Look, it's going to be a brilliant weekend. We'll clip that one out as well. Get in the comments if you're going to one of these games. Let us know what you're expecting, and let us know what your stiffener is on the train before you get to this one, because you're blooming well gonna need it. A brilliant weekend in the relegation zone already. Get your thoughts in via the comments on must win head-to-head relegation roulette, part 1 of many this season. Well, if you thought Worldie of the Week was an obvious one, we're about to go to mouth-watering matchup, but I'll go through the fixtures before we get there, Matt. West Ham, Chelsea, that's always a bit narky, that one, isn't it? Villa, Wolves, and you were very much right to mention difficult games for Wolves and Palace next week as well. Fulham, Newcastle, Leicester, Everton, we've covered. Liverpool, Bournemouth, Saints, Ipswich, Spurs versus Brentford, Palace, Man United in the 5:30. Brighton versus Forest, who we covered in the main segment of the show. And it will be no surprise to absolutely anybody to know that our mouth-watering matchup is Manchester City versus Arsenal. And Matt, these ones, they feel like they're the title deciders. These 2 games that you assume in the other 36 games, and this is so boring to say it, that Man City and Arsenal will be within the sort of 4 to 6 points of each other, that these are the 2 games that make absolutely all the difference. Before you go on to it, Manchester City at home in the Champions League to Inter on Wednesday. Arsenal away to Atalanta on Thursday in the Champions League. And they are also the away side in this game. So even with no nuance to the debate, just in terms of the geography and the fixtures, feels a tough one for Arsenal. But look, we're talking Man City away. What are your thoughts on everything I've said in an early title decider?
I'm so glad, you pointed out the Champions League games, because I was just about to mention them. That is a really big factor coming into this. Like you say, Man City at home a day early, Arsenal going across Europe a day later. Oh, goodness me, Ben. I mean, you're right. I mean, these games can decide the title, but not always, because last season, Arsenal took 4 points off Man City but they didn't win the
Good
league.
point.
And they kept 2 clean sheets as well. So, they did really, really well. But I think in hindsight now, they probably had to win both. I think they were 3 points behind them in the end. So if they had won both, it would have leveled it up. I think as well as the travelling, I think as much as I struggle to separate Manchester City and Arsenal, I think Manchester City just do have that bit more depth to their squad, whereas Arsenal, like I say, will it be the same 11 that's going away to Atalanta that will be going away to Manchester City on the Sunday? Because both games are away for Arsenal as well, of course. Oh, it's really difficult. I mean, if they do what they did last season, which is go here and get a 0-0, that is a really good result.
That'll do for Arsenal,
It is a really good result, but I don't know. I always think that Manchester City are most vulnerable, if that makes sense, at the very start of the season, because they absolutely cruise towards the end of the season. So if you're going to take any points off Man City, as difficult as it is, you probably have to do it early on before they really get going and really use that squad depth to their advantage.
But you have arrested Haaland at the start of this season.
Yeah, that's very true as well. And his numbers, I mean, you were right to mention it last time. His numbers are frightening. It was another 2 goals. Great for my fantasy team. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, though, Manchester City, winning 2-1 against Brentford, the result on its own maybe doesn't suggest that they're quite at their peak yet. But the Arsenal result against Spurs, so important now coming into this one, because I was looking at that. If it had finished 0-0, because it was still 0-0 with 25 to go, then the emphasis would be on Arsenal to go and get the win here. Yeah, maybe a draw's okay, but they've already dropped points, Arsenal. It's just so hard, isn't it, challenging Manchester City? It's a monopoly. Yeah, I think if Arsenal can go there and get another 0-0, of course, Arteta will know what to expect from Pep, and I do feel like he can match up to him now. But, it's such a big game already. Maybe come a little bit early in the season, because nothing's really taken full form yet. But, yeah, I can't wait for it. I'm just wondering, do Arsenal go there and think 0-0, possibly try and snatch it 1-0? I think it could be one of those kind of games.
I guess they have to, don't they? And while you're talking, all I'm thinking is, at some point this season, regardless of court cases and, things of that nature off the pitch, you just feel they might be doing it now, but you feel Man City will win, 7 on the trot or 8 on the trot at some point. So you are right in that then takes away, even if Arsenal can do 4 points, a win and a draw, you then just have to be so good everywhere else. It's fascinating. Hopefully, we'll be able to get somebody else involved in the title race. But as you can see, mine and Matt's discussion, we think the likelihood of that is fairly low. So potentially, not only seismic at the bottom this round, but at the top too. All right, thank you for joining us this week. Now, there's plenty to plug. We are going to be doing the League One predictions. I'll be over on Matt's channel. And if you are a League One addict, we do have the equivalent of Barcelona versus Real Madrid in League One coming up, which hasn't happened yet, Birmingham Wrexham. So we'll be reacting to that on Tuesday. Matt will be doing his normal predictions with Sophie in terms of the Premier League stuff. But also, Matt, I wanted to plug this week. We don't get a chance to talk about Coventry very often. In the middle of the week, it is Coventry versus Spurs in the EFL Cup game, which I believe you're going to. So just quickly talk to me about your week, and lots of stuff on the Matt SP channel, which if you haven't already done, I'm sure you have, go and subscribe to right now.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I should have actually mentioned earlier, maybe Tottenham's defeat to Arsenal could be because they had one eye on Wednesday's game. No, it should be good. Yeah, I'll be at the Coventry versus Tottenham game in the Carabao Cup on Wednesday. So I'll have a match vlog coming out on Wednesday night. I've also got the Premier League and Championship predictions. And of course, on Tuesday, Ben will be over on my channel doing League One predictions. So do get over and subscribe. And like I say, subscribe over here if you haven't already. Make sure you're liking. Really do support the Premier League Check-In podcast. We're new to it this season. It's up and coming, and we're really enjoying it. So, yeah, thank you for your support so far this season, and long may it continue.
Brilliant stuff. And also, thank you for your patience. We're recording on a Sunday for a Monday this week. We'll probably be back to recording on on a Tuesday for a Tuesday next week. But bear with us. There's many moving parts in trying to get these podcasts out and whatnot. We really appreciate you supporting us, and we will be back. I won't say same time next week. We'll be back sometime next week after relegation roulette. Bring it on. I'm not scared, honestly.